So our next speaker is Mr. Hugo Shong. Mr. Shong has been founding general partner of IDG Capital Partners since 1993, also of IDG XL China Growth Fund and IDG XL Capital Fund since 2005 and 2008 respectively. In 1993, backed by Patrick McGovern, founder and chairman of Boston headquartered International Data Group IDG, Mr. Shong formed China's first technology venture capital firm, IDG Capital Partners, which was to invest in a string of China's most successful internet companies, such as Baidu, Tencent, Sohu, Ctrip, and SoFun. Also, as an award-winning journalist, Mr. Shong also launched and published over 40 magazines in China and Vietnam. So please join me and welcome Mr. Shong.
Yeah, actually a lot of seats here, so I will feel better if you come over to sit here. So there's a lot of seats. Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here. And even though I was not able to attend MIT because I'm not smart enough, but I'm deeply rooted with MIT. One of the reasons is the IDG. IDG, the founder and the chairman, Patrick McGovern, is also MIT graduate. He's also trustee of MIT. And also, he said the first US-China joint venture in 1980. And he has made more than 120 trips to China. Actually, he's going to be China tomorrow. I'm going to leave today to join him. And also, he's the founder and the donor to the McGovern Institute for Brain Research nearby. And I joined him 22 years ago after working as a journalist for 3 years. So exactly 20 years ago, I set up, with Pat's support, I set up China's first venture capital firm in 1993. And also launched a magazine. Actually, I got in the launching issue, I wrote the introduction of the magazine, talk about my China dream. So you can say the China dream I used over there 20 years ago. That time I have, actually, okay, thank you. So the two dreams I have, that time, because you can get a copy in the brochure. One, I want to launch more technology magazines because Pat launched the first Computer World magazine in China in 1980, and I joined him and I told him I have two dreams to work for him. He said, what? I said, one, I want to launch more technology magazines to introduce the American technology to the Chinese audience, readers. And the two, because I want to set up a venture capital firm in China. Why? Because when I was a reporter for the Electronic Business magazine, I worked there for 3 years. I covered the Silicon Valley and the Route 128, and interviewed many entrepreneurs and VC, venture capital firms, including Dr. An Wan and all those very famous, successful venture capital, entrepreneurs. And then, but when I visited China in 1991, I met with quite a few of my friends, graduated from college and then went to Shenzhen that time. I went to Shenzhen for the first time. They tried to launch the business over there, asking me for advice whether they can get the funding. And I said, well, you should find a venture capitalist. Nobody knows what a venture capitalist is. I said, gee, this is a great opportunity. I should launch the venture capital because I know I interview many venture capitalists, like the Chinese, but I have never done any investment in the, make any investment in this area. But like the Chinese saying, I've never eaten the pork, but I've seen a lot of pigs running around. So, but Pat bought my crazy idea and gave me the support to do the two things. So that's how it started. So that's the photo they took for me when I first visited Hong Kong. So 20 years passed. Look at the picture, I see what I've gained over the past 20 years. Of course, 20 pounds of fat, that's not so good. But then, actually, we started with a 10 million US dollar commitment from IDG. And that year, I secured another 10 million commitment from the Shanghai government. And then now we manage $3.8 billion and also 3.6 billion RMB found in China. But the most important thing, we have invested over 300 companies, with 70 of them either went to IPO in the US or we exit through trade sale. Actually, there's another one is scheduled to be listed on the US Stock Exchange on the 22nd, the 3G, 叫3G 门户, and in a few weeks, and in a few days. If you're interested in buying the stock, I encourage you to do so. But anyway, it's a good company. But then I will run a short video and see what IDG has been doing in China. Then we can talk a little bit more about today's talk. Okay, thank you. So that's, basically tell you what we do. One, we are in the publishing business. And since we launched the electronic product world, we started more than 40 magazines in China. And of course, expanded from electronics, telecom, to consumer magazines. And then you see, nowadays, you see all these Chinese editions of Cosmo, Harper's Bazaar, National Geographic, Men's Health, all those magazines in China. And not only provide great information to the Chinese readers, and also is a great business. It's actually we are doing over 150 million US dollar in terms of revenue in China, and also very profitable in China. And also, most importantly, create a lot of jobs for the reporters and the editors. We have over 2,000 reporters and editors in China. And also in the market research business, provide the market research information for IDC. And then and also we have the events business. We produce the trade shows, and particularly the largest technology show, which just started today in Shenzhen. The Shenzhen High Tech Fair started by us, and Zhu Rongji went to there for the opening ceremony for the first one. Actually, that year I was very proud because also related with MIT, because I was the one help to invite Zhu Rongji to visit MIT to give the speech. As actually, I was personally hand-deliver the invitation from Dr. West, the president, to Mr. Li Zhaoxin to invite Zhu Rongji to give a speech here, and IDG sponsored the lunch for Zhu Rongji. And I was so happy that I was greeting Zhu Rongji at the airport, because I came from Hunan. I greeted him with my Hunan dialogue. So he was very pleased, and that's the photo over there. And then he still remembered me. Just a few years ago, I met with him in Shenzhen, and he autographed the photo I took years ago, which is good. So that's something I did for MIT, which I was proud of. Okay. And most importantly, the venture capital, we invest more the consumer internet companies. One of the most successful ones, like Baidu, Tencent, were the first round investor, and Sohu. And Sohu offers Charles Chang is an MIT graduate, and then did very well for himself. Also, the company is still doing quite well. And what I really realized over the past 20 years, China has been really like the heaven for entrepreneurs, particularly for the people who, studied here and had great ideas and also have the guts return to China to launch their own business. But for me, I think I benefit a lot by studying and living in Boston for together almost because IDG's headquarters is still in Boston, and on the One Exeter Plaza, I have an office there. It's across the street from the library where the explosion happened actually last time, quite close to our office. But then what really benefit from my living experience in Boston, you saw quite a few like the music festivals, because when I was a student, I loved to go to the Tanglewood Music Festival. So now we're building the Tanglewood Music Festival in Beijing near the Great Wall, and also the IDG World Celebrity Series to sponsor the students to come to the National Theater to see the music concert, etc. That's really what I learned when I was a student. Boston has the One Celebrity Series. It's the same thing. So I just try to copy all those nice models to implement to China. Of course, you can say this is the C2C business, copy to China, but originally but really it works. And then I really greatly enjoy it. Like Patrick launched this, the McGovern Brain Research Institute. Now we started 3 China centers. One was Tsinghua, Beida, and also Beijing Normal University. Each year we contribute $3 million to all the 3 universities. And then also we sponsor every year the 3 universities send the students and the scholars to study here and also had the conference. We just had the conference here 2 weeks ago at the Brain Research Institute. For those programs, actually, I personally sponsor those programs. So it's really great. So that's what we're doing. And then and for the future, what we're going to do, and I think China is different, much different from 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, people all looking for first of all, for money, for funding. But now it's no longer for funding. China has more cash than any other countries in the world. So it's really looking for great ideas. And then now everybody talk about the pollution in Beijing, the Shanghai, all those major cities. So we need great solutions, how to solve this problem. And also energy is another issue, because in the US, the shale gas has played, shale gas related technology has played greater role in the reducing the price for electricity and also increase the competitiveness for US manufacturing industry, and of course make the air cleaner. But then China needed that. So we also put a lot of emphasis, and then we are the first company to obtain the permission to develop such a business. And on the other hand, the entertainment industry in China, I think, will be very important for growth as well. Because of course, when I returned to China, that time the most popular entertainment is the karaoke. And but now, the karaoke is still popular, but then I like to sing. That's one of my hobby. But then people more like to go to see the movies. But in the U.S., the film, U.S. is always the world monopoly in terms of exporting is film to the other countries. But China's market, film market, is also the fastest growing market in the world, because it has grown on average 30% a year over the past 10 years, and is still growing. So it's very interesting. That doesn't mean of course China has more people than any other countries, but the most important thing is the China's cinema has increased so fast, because now China, every day, as we're talking today, every day China has increased 5 to 6 multiplex screens daily. And now China has 16,000 screens. For the US, has 40,000 screens, not growing, even declining. But I think if we compare U.S. population to the China's, the urban population, and I think China at least will need to have 80,000 screens for the future in the next 10 years. So it's a lot of growth for this area. So that's why we invest in the film business industries, and it's very exciting. I become film producer. And maybe if you saw the movie released in August, there's a movie called 21 and Over. I was that's my real co-producer film for this one, and I did quite well. The film is going to be released in China maybe this month or the next month. And then I just came from Los Angeles, actually specific for this meeting. And because and just 2 days ago, I launched a China Story Fellowship at the American Film Institute to encourage the American script writers, students, coming to China to write stories on China, to make the film, to get the Chinese story told not only to the American audience and also to the audience around the world. So, yeah, it's very exciting in China. I mean, working as a venture capitalist, and so I like the idea. You know, the MIT, this topic, innovation, inspiration, and being a student at MIT, you have to be, you know, have great mind and great ideas, inspirations. But then, where should be the market for all those great ideas, inspirations to be realized? I think China. And I think that's why one of the reasons I like to come here to share with you what we're doing. And then maybe I'd like to be able to answer your questions. Maybe that's okay? Thank you. Okay.
So because of time, so we only have maybe 3 questions. Just okay.
Maybe do
That
4.
one first.
Do 4 questions.
Okay. Go ahead. So you can go to the microphone.
Go to the microphone, yeah, that's right, yeah. Maybe do 4, each 2, okay?
I'm a professional from semiconductors, and I think now in China's, in USA, most of venture capitals, they are more fantastic about you know, the internet, the social media startup company. Probably they are not, you know, so interested in those kinds of semiconductors, but in China, they may still have some, you know, chance. So, what would you see for, you know, the semiconductor like a chip maker, phone chip design companies in China from 5 or 10 years from now? And is there a chance for China to build up a company like a TI, Qualcomm in China in the future?
Okay, that's a very good question. If China is going to build its own, you know, Qualcomm type of companies like Intel and all the making their own chips, that's what the question is? Okay, yes. Yes, I think U.S. still is really advanced in these areas, and then own the patent and you know, develop its own technology. I think China has. Yeah, that's a very challenging business actually, the chip design business, and normally the venture capitalists, you know, afraid making investment in such business because 1, takes a long time, 2, it's hard for such a technology-driven company to gain the market share, because for the business-wise, it's really they want to see how you can reach the scale that you can make a lot of money. For example, China has been the government has been putting a lot of money to develop its own 3D, I mean the CDMA technology, like the China Mobile use the, you know, the TD, CDMT. China has developed its own technology, but it's hard for the other users to implement. And so that's why they try to bypass the 3D technology, try to get the 4D. So the government is driving pretty fast on those things, but then I still see it's a lot of a challenge. I don't really have a good question for you, a good answer for you, but then I think this really should be more market-driven rather than the government to put too much money to push for this. The government put a lot of money, but then still the commercialization of such technology products is really difficult. And but I see there's a lot of potential for this, particularly the mobile internet technology, to be developed for China, because China has the largest, you know, market for the mobile applications. For example, we invested in a company called Xiaomi phone, and it's doing very well. But the Xiaomi phone still have to use a lot of, you know, the parts either developed by the Japanese or Koreans. And then the Hongmi, the red Xiaomi, that's the one. Use all of these local products, but the quality cannot compare with the parts. I mean the components developed by the Japanese and the Koreans. But then the Korea's experience could be a great example. But the Korea, like Samsung, has put a lot of money and for such a development, and which has gained a lot of market share, which has become very serious competitor against Apple's iPhone. But Xiaomi, I'm not just biased, but the Xiaomi phone is this company is really successful. As you know, the company is in the business only 2.5 years, but then the market value of the company, because DST, Digital Sky Technology, just invested a lot of money and get a valuation of $10 billion. This company hasn't gone to IPO, but then it's already reached 10 billion market value, which is phenomenal. And the most important, the Xiaomi phone used the most very innovative marketing skill. They try to sell this mobile phone by put the numbers on the phone and on the website, and then get the people to try to get the number in order to purchase the phone. So this month, I think Mr. Lei Jun told me, he just attended our meeting, he sold 2 million sets a month without any advertising. It's and also the 2 million numbers can be sold by the people on the internet within 20 minutes. So he's going to ship like 3 million per month next year. So which is amazing. So I think it's to give you the answer to yes, there's definitely is a lot of potential for this technology, to develop China's own technology, not to just do the C2C business for the future. But I think maybe need more like a company-driven and a market-driven for development, rather than have the government put a lot of money for development. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Shong. My name is Kai Zhang. I work for a consumer finance company here in the United States.
Okay.
I know IDG recently had a conference on internet finance and recently invested in Huatai in Shanghai.
Okay.
So what's your view on the internet finance in China, especially after the economic reform and deregulation of financial service industry after the third plenum, Sanzhongquanhui, and how will also that impact the venture capital and PE industry in China overall?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for following that one. With the conference name, the title is called Internet and Finance. It's actually mobile internet and finance. Okay. One of the reasons, because the internet becomes very convenient devices for people to access to their financial services. But in China, I think the biggest challenge, I think the biggest challenge and as well as the obstacle for people to launch their own business, China's the service from the bank is not very good.
Yep.
Because I have done the survey for the most profitable business companies, the top 10, most of the profitable companies in China and in the US. You'll find such interesting story. In China, every year, like over the past 3 years, most of the profitable business all be the banks.
Yep.
And in the US, most of the profitable companies, all IT-driven companies, IT-related companies, no banks. And the banks, as you know, banking is very important, but the banking is very, I would say, labor-intensive business that doesn't need too much of the technology.
Yep.
But then if the banking business becomes so profitable, because the banking is a service business, so that means it's the customer paid too much for them. The cost for the people who use the banking services paid too much. So of course, banks need to make money, but they make too much money.
Yep.
That's also I was always joking, with the leaders of the banks, because I don't know, because in China the banking people, the executives of the banks are really very powerful people, but very fortunately I'm a venture capitalist. They always ask me to use the service because they want me to deposit our money in the bank. So I do not afraid of them. So I always say, oh, you guys need to do a lot of work, improve your service, lower your fee. So therefore, for the internet, the mobile internet services, that's why we can tie up the the banking service with the mobile internet, with the mobile phone. So which will be very attractive and also will come with a lot of very creative solutions. So I see that's why we expected to, we actually set up a special allocate $100 million to encourage entrepreneurs to come with the solution that we can make the investment. So that's why we see a lot of potential for this one. And the banking business, particularly with the internet, I think China definitely will become the largest in the world very soon, because now China's over 200 million people use the smartphone. Yep. I think very soon, if they reach a total smartphone user of 400 million, I think China will be a substantial market for this banking services. And U.S. total population is only 300 million, but China, I think in 2 years, China may reach such scale of, the mobile internet users will be, over 400 million. So that's why I see. And then, so as I said, if any of you interested in that area, have great ideas, you can feel free to contact with us. Actually, my colleagues is really looking for deals, proposals in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi.
还有两个问题
Hello, Mr. Hello.
这个女士很 OK
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
OK
Hi, Mr. Shong. Thank you for the speech. It's a great pleasure to be
Okay.
here. And I have a question. So you mentioned a lot that you encourage Chinese students here to go back to China to start their own business, to implement their great ideas. But for some of us, we started here, work here for some time, and we also have the dream to start our own business here. So for example, for me, after work several years in the US, I started my own company. And do you have some suggestions for us, those Chinese students who trying to establish our own startup company in the US? So I hope if you can give us more advice. And also regarding the seeking the capital investment, do you think we should more embrace the local capital here, or maybe find some Chinese investors like you to support us?
Very good question. Very practical. I think take my personal experience. I think the one I would think after your graduation, if you can, maybe find a job opportunity working with some university, not university, some companies. And also, maybe you can participate in more conference like this, right? So you can make friends. And also, you can, it's better because for a successful entrepreneur, I think it's not only technology-driven person. It's really, you need to have a team. So ideally, you can set up the own team, not only from MIT. It's really, now I see you got the students from other universities, right? So, for example, when I was a student, I was the head of the Chinese Student and the Scholar Association. I organized a lot of, events, and so I met with a lot of people. So, like Charles. When I organized a dancing party, he always came over, Of course, he was looking for some, days or whatever, but that's fine. But when we get to know each other, when he came to China, and then so we talk, and then because we know each other, and then actually when he quit MIT to go back to China, he set a party. I came over here, and he invited me to give a talk. I did, and then He even asked me to sing a song for him. So I said, do. So we actually, met with we know each other, and then we get familiar with what it is. So give him the funding. So that's why I think those activity and this community in Boston is really good. And of course, some of the funding, not necessarily from institutional investor, you can get from, from some seed money, even some professors, like Charles. He got his funding from Dr. Edwards, right? So, yeah. So, and also Nicholas Ponti is the seed fund. We are the Series A investor. So that makes things much easier. But it's, once you have the dream, you just keep doing it. And then you may find some people who are interested in helping you. But nowadays, China has a lot of money. Then even some of the parents of your classmates and schoolmates who could be able to be the source of your seed funding, But for us, for institutional investor, we always, of course, we look at the technology, the market, but most importantly, we look at the team, So the team is very important. And then because you not only develop the technology, you have to sell the products and doing the promotion. So to try to, improve the personal skill, even to how to deal with, talk to the people, and then hire the people, and get the people excited, all share your dream. So it's very important. And one criteria we have, when we evaluate the company, we always look at the resume or talk with the CEO and ask him what kind of activity he has done as maybe as a student leader, and some of those skills were really helpful. In China, 这个学生会的那个当过学生会的头，是吧？is always preferred. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Xiong. Thank you so much for this. It's very impressive. I have a little question because I did a research before, and now every year only 4% of our graduation can start their own business in China. 7 million graduates, only 4% of them can start their own business, and only 1.7% can survive from the first year. Why, and how can we help? Thank you.
Well, we cannot solve all those problems, right? But you have to understand the failure rate is higher than the success rate in the venture to start their own business. But I think the key is because a lot of people ask me how can I launch the company and such business without suffering from the failure. Nobody wants to fail, right? And then I said, well, not to treat this venture capitalists, the entrepreneurship or launching your own business, trying to make money. You just think, it's a lifestyle change. Do you like this lifestyle? But not necessarily you have to always be in some profit-making organization. And nowadays, I was thinking maybe social entrepreneurship is also very important. Particularly, I know quite a few people, and they went back to China, working for some educational organizations, and even charity organizations, even started their own museum, and to help those people, not necessarily making money, but then it's really helpful for the society. I think now China, on the entrepreneurs you talk about, is all talking about making money. And you have to understand the business is really competitive business, particularly in the technology-driven business. It's hard to be successful. But then most importantly, you should, before you start something, is really you'll be able to assemble a team together with you, share the same dream, working together. And then, so I think the learning, take this as a learning process. And most importantly, I think it's really the life change. If you get something you feel very passionate, you go to do it, and then never give up. And then you may accomplish what you never, expected. The outcome sometimes is amazing. I think the persistence is very important. But then most importantly, you have the passion to do something. And really not try to feel, oh, you want to make money. And when I started those business, particularly for magazine, I said, well, it's because I take my personal experience, because I work for the magazine publishing company in Newton, actually, for 3 years. For 3 years, I never taken any vacation and working every day, 16 hours a day. So seems I work for 6 years. I gained a lot of experience, not just a reporter. I know the publishing business very well. And then that time I just feel, well, what I really learned is so funny that time, because I used to work at the Xinhua News Agency. And the magazine, we had like 50 people. Our total revenue is that time is like $30 million and, in 1990. But I know my friends, my colleagues at the Xinhua News Agency, they all have like 5,000 people, but the total revenue is the same. So I said, wow, doesn't mean it's very difficult for me to get to Xinhua to work over there. But then doesn't mean those people are not smarter than the people here. But it's really a lot of practical experience. I mean, the practice is different. So you learn something you want to implement to China. And then also you are able to find the people to work together with you. So that's why you start to do it. And then when I launched the venture capital, it's the same thing, because at that time, when people talk about venture capital, you need some people who is really have technology background. Even though I started as a EE major at the college, but I actually graduated with English major. But then, so I was able to find a good friend of mine who graduated from Chinese University of Science and Technology, and he is a great scientist, but he has never done any investment. But we just know each other, but he shares my dream. So it took me 3 days, talk to him, get him to quit his job to join me, Zhou Quan. And then, so now we work together, we learn each other, we learn from, working in China. So that's where we are. So it's really persistent. You have the passion. You share. You find the partners work together. That's very important. Okay. Thank you. Okay.